Hello, Eva. There's no mistaking you.
I'm here to set you free. There are no pacts between lions and men.
You may just be my new best friend.
Very old friend.
I wouldn't say friends.
Let us pledge that the winner will allow the loser all the proper funeral rituals.
Totally did, right?
No. Now you know who you're fighting.
The king in the north!
You're in my dream.
Oh, sunshine, you make me happy when the skies are
Did it
gray.
ever once occur to you that I might have some insight?
What should I do differently?
I don't know. I don't know anything about battles.
That's good advice.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Right now, good men are not what the moment requires. Right now, the time calls for dark men to do dark things.
What's going on? It's Justin Thomas, and welcome to the broadcast. All right, we're going to talk a little Vikings right now. We just had episode 18 of 4B. Name of the episode was Revenge. We got to see the Great Heathen Army. We did not see the battle, but we got to see the aftermath. We did get to see a pretty cool Blood Eagle. We feel a little bit different on this one. Definitely, maybe even more than a little bit different of this episode. So I want to know how you felt about Revenge, Tarzan.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, think about it. I've loved this show from the beginning, but say in my opinion, I like this episode better than I have anything else. Out of the second half of the season. We miss Ragnar and we miss Rollo and this, that, and the other thing. But when it comes down to it, I agreed with you. We talked about this earlier. That they definitely kind of sold us short on some battle scenes and stuff of that nature, and definitely used a little filler. But in my opinion, I kind of liked what I saw. I liked the way they did Ayala.
Yeah, I guess
I think
Go ahead. I'm trying to. We disagreed about it because you said this is actually your favorite, and I was kind of appalled before we started recording. Let me put it this way: I'm not happy with this season at all. And I'm not just butthurt about Ragnar. I am one of those people that I'm all about fluent narrative in a storyline that doesn't have plot holes, that doesn't have a lot. The pacing has to be on for me in a show, and Vikings has always had an issue with pacing, and this season has been the absolute worst. It's not just because Ragnar's not there, but I guess my point is I am trying to still think of an episode that I liked better. But you're right. it is one of the better ones. So, I can handle no big battle. I thought the Blood Eagle was awesome. But there's a lot of pacing issues. How we got here is ridiculous. The time that they wasted on some storylines that I just am sure they're going to abandon because they do this. They're notorious for abandoning storylines. And, we had Ube get married, right? This episode, which is cool. And they showed some weird ritual where they chase each other. And I think whoever loses has to serve the groom. So it's kind of weird that the groom was in on it because, can the groom really lose that? Then he has to serve himself at his own wedding. But anyways, it was a cool, different Viking, which I'm assuming because Michael Hirst, he does like history, even though he does seem to just shit all over it anytime he gets a chance. But he is the sole writer of this show. And I think that's the only reason that he gets away with some of the stuff he gets away with. But I like the wedding aspect and all that, but the whole Marguerite or whatever her name is, the slave girl that he's married, and that's fine and all that. They're, doing the whole progressive thing, the whole 21st century standards in the 8th century. That's whatever. We get that in every show. But it's just, did we really need to see that? Did we really need to see Vitschek and Ube agree to the threesome? Is that going anywhere? That's my point. I'm not one of those guys I didn't get to see a battle, man. What the fuck? I want to see some people die. You know what I mean? But do you see why I can be angry? And this is only I mean, there's a lot of issues I have with this. I mean, Bjorn got back from Spain in one episode, and they gathered the great heathen army in an episode and a half, and we wasted just how much time with just silly nonsense, more of this Marguerite shit. Like, it's like when they don't use the time, when they don't make the most out of the time, when they use this filler and the filler is just bullshit. And I mean, where is this really going? What is important about it? Are they just showing like that this is, maybe they were just polyamorous or whatever back then? Is he trying to show like how sexually open the Vikings were? You know, I don't even know how much. I mean, I'm sure that if they were doing something like this with a slave back then, that it was just, I'm sure they weren't asking. I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's just the way it is. But I get all that. But do you see where I'm coming at? Even though we didn't get to see the battle, seeing Floki come up, and it was a badass slow-mo walk, and everybody yells Ragnar, and we get to see a badass Blood Eagle. I'm not so much mad that we didn't get the action, but it does get to me when I think of what was in place of the action. It's just storyline that most likely is going to get thrown away anyways, isn't going anywhere, and it's just not necessary. It's like, so why didn't we see it? And there's just so many things that we saw that we just didn't need to see, and that's just been going on forever in this. It's always had an issue with it, in my opinion, but I just really think Vikings this season has had pacing issues like fucking crazy. But I mean, I do kind of agree with you. It's definitely top 3 for the episodes, second half of season 4. So you liked it. I mean, how did you feel about the pacing personally? Did you feel like it was rushed at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they obviously, I mean, shit. I mean, they ended the first half. I mean, you come back from a commercial break and what 15 years gone? I mean, yeah. They dropped the ball. Here's the biggest problem I think we can agree on. They have dropped. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It's like a movie that has like a trilogy, or, you know, they do sequels, and then all of a sudden they have a good movie, then some other jackass comes in directing and everything for that movie. It's like a whole different feel, and you got to agree with me on that.
Oh, absolutely.
So like after that commercial break, oh wait, hang on, here's a new, you know, it's like when we go back to like season 1, the development of the characters, you know, the stuff we got with Athelstan, it was very in depth. And then you bring these 3 sons and they're little kids, and they're kind of like, you know, in the background. And those of us who know kind of like Viking history, they will have an impact later on. With it, it's like, you know, you got to have character development. Say, okay, here they are. You know, after that commercial break, they're just sitting out there like at a little farm. Yeah. And it's kind of, you know, that's just my biggest problem is like the character development has been god awful. But now I guess I accept it. It is what it is. I don't know. I mean, you and I have both kind of studied a little bit on the Viking history, and I don't remember that chick having a significant. I don't remember there being. I mean, that might be something they're going to do on the show. Maybe she is going to have something to do with something later on. I don't know. If not, I agree with you there. It's absolutely fucking irrelevant. But okay, now we definitely agree on that. When they had that little battle scene, I liked how they did it, but it was definitely really fucking cheaply done. You know what I mean? They found an open field. Here's some damn fake swords and shields. You know what I'm saying? Kind of still not sold on this whole, you know, Roman chariot shit with freaking, not really, I don't know. That was kind of weird in itself. You know, everything I read on him, he was supposed to be more of a distance fighter. And his armor stuff it didn't look as Viking. It looked more Roman.
It looked like Under Armour to me. It looked like he had an Under Armour like little wind mask for running. And I looked online. I mean, Michael Hurst, like I said, he is notorious for just fucking taking history. And I mean, this guy loves history. This guy's like, he does archaeological digs and stuff. He finances them, you know, he pumps money into it. He really deeply cares about these histories. And if anybody's seen the Tudors, or the Borgias, which I love Tudor history. I love Renaissance history. So I actually like both of those shows, and he kind of plays it fast and loose with it, but you kind of just expect him to. The thing with Vikings is he sometimes tries to be so authentic, and it's kind of hard to be authentic with the Vikings anyways. Their history doesn't technically start until 911, so we're still in the 800s here. You know, this is all, it's a saga. You know, they weren't literate people at this time, so they just told their stories. You know, this is all, it's folklore, it's word of mouth. And so we're not dealing with the armies attacking and all that all happened because we have, the source material. Yeah. yes, by the Saxons and all that. Yeah, we have the source material. So we know some people did, and we know that there was a Ragnar that attacked France and ate whatever. Him this because, like you said, he was a tactician. He was a military commander. Most likely, he was not even crippled. He was most likely overweight and couldn't ride a horse or something like that. And we don't even know. It doesn't even matter. But they're going to, of course, put him in a chariot. Which I think this comes back to what I'm trying to. How you talked about the character development, and I think what you were saying is how good it was. They fleshed out so many characters pretty well. Even like, okay, they were playing it fast and loose with history when they had Rollo be his brother, but why not? Okay, they're just, they're tying some stuff together, but they fleshed out these characters so well. And now it seems like what I feel like Michael Hirsch, because he's the sole writer of the show, so there's nobody else to tell him no. And he sits at home and he writes this. I really feel, I'm being honest, I feel like he didn't think he was going to get this far. And now he's like, damn, I want to do Ivar, I want to do Sigurd, Snake and I want to do the Sons of Ragnar. He never thought he was going to get that far. I mean, they were going to kill Ragnar off in the first season. It was going to be a one-off. So I really feel like, because now it's like every fleshed out character we have, and trust me, in no way would I ever advocate to have Aslog come back, because I hated her. She was like the drunken housewife of fucking Cattlegat. And she's the worst character in the world. She annoyed me for some reason. I'm so happy. That's the only gift he gave me this season, was killing her ass. But it seems like they are just out with the old and in with the new. And even Bjorn, he was really fleshed out. And they did, like you mentioned, how the other kids are just in the background. But when Bjorn was a child, remember, we saw Bjorn the first time he did a raid with his father. We saw the first time he was in a shield wall. We saw the first time he had sex with a girl. I mean, we watched him grow up. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but he's fleshed out like a motherfucker. But now they realize, because Bjorn's very famous, but he's very famous for different reasons. He didn't really lead the great heathen army. He went off and had his own conquests over in Spain and more in the Mediterranean. So they have to they're really shoving Ivar down our throats. They're just really going to shove that, whatever is Alexander, it's Alexander something. And he's a talented actor, but I feel like he's trying to be real goofy, like Travis Finnell was, and it doesn't really work for me. I feel like it's so forced, but I just feel like he's like, oh shit, now I can do this story, and he had like, maybe he was 75% done with the other story, and then he's like, but I don't know if I'm gonna have 3 seasons left. I might only have 2 to do it. You know what I'm saying? So we got the 12-year to 15-year jump in between commercials, and he just went for it. He's just diving in head first, and he is force feeding us these characters. And the casting, I feel, is bad. Sigurd, Snake and I, looks like a trailer park boy. I wouldn't want to ever be in I'm not a big guy, you know that. I'm about 107. I'm normal size. I can hold my own, but I would never claim that I'd want to be in a shield wall. But yeah, you put a shield and a sword or an axe in my hand and put me up against that guy. Yeah, I'm game. I mean, that guy's 120 pounds soaking fucking wet. I feel quite comfortable. I just don't know where the casting comes from sometimes.
Just don't be making fun of Billy Ray Cyrus's kid, man. That's really fun.
I hate him. And I know for a fact I watch a lot of interviews, and I bring this up in other podcasts, and it might be a little redundant, but I watch a lot of interviews with the actors and the producers and directors of these shows that we love. And I do know that Michael Hirsch is very hands-on, and these actors go out and they are able to have dinner, and they have some wine with him, and they're able to, talk about their characters and talk about what direction they want to go. I know for a fact that Egbert, he wanted to talk about how he was, how he would be doing things because he would be trying to mimic or mirror what Charlemagne's court was, a few generations back. He grew up at it. So he was able to get that into the script. And that's a good example of this. But did you know that Bjorn's wife and Floki's wife, that those are Hirsch's daughters? The 2 brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just found this out. I actually did not know that. I just found this out. That's Hirsch's daughters. And did you notice how Bjorn's wife, I'll edit that later. Bjorn's wife, I cannot recall her name right now, but the old maiden, and she never was anything like that. But now she's some badass just out of nowhere. If you watch the preview for the next one.
Oh, I don't know if I did watch the previews for the next one. Ooh.
Well, Yeah, well, she's fighting, and she's been fighting this whole time. Bjorn's wife, she helped fight to take Kattegat from Aslog, and she never used to be anything like that. And I feel like she had wine and dinner with her dad, and she was like, "Well, I want to be tough too. I want to be a shield maiden." And Michael Hurst is like, "Okay, why not? Everything's different now. We're getting rid of everybody that we fleshed out, and we're just starting over." Like he realistically, I think, is just looking at it as he's starting a new show. You know. I was upset that Ragnar died at this point. I thought that it was weird. I thought that they didn't market it well. Like I thought there would have been a lot more build up for it. You know, I mean, I have no issue with him dying. He did need to die, but I thought it would have been just at the end of the season. It was just kind of out of nowhere, and there wasn't even a lot about it. You know, and maybe that's kind of cool when you think about it, but it's also just weird. It's like everything else. The pacing is off. It doesn't feel right. He just really wanted to get there. It's almost like when you have like a bad movie and you have a lot of exposition just on the screen, you see a lot of text, you know what I mean? And they're like, and then this happened. And then, you know, the next 5 years he learned how to fight and trained with so-and-so. They might as well have just done that shit. But, you know, I'm going to pick it to pieces like an asshole, I guess. I still love it. I still watch it. I think it's going downhill. I think they're doing I think he makes a lot of weird choices with those relationships with the slaves and all that. And I think it's just because he wants to show the culture. And that worked a lot better with Athelstan. Like you spoke of Athelstan, and his story was really interesting. We got to see a Christian live among these pagans. Now that was showing the culture. Like, and there was even a threesome brought up, you know, with Ragnar and Lagertha, and they invited Athelstan, and that made sense. Because, you know, they lived more free. So, okay, they're showing that. Do we really need to see all these brothers having sex with the same slave? I don't know. I mean, and it does really get to me then when we see a badass battle that we're waiting to see and then it just gets skipped. I know we're going to see one next episode. Kattegat is getting attacked, and I know we'll see in the finale, we're definitely going to see Wessex come into the mix from the previews, but that's my take on it. But I was very angry when you said it was your first or your favorite episode when we started this, and I've been thinking, and I would probably say it's probably my second favorite. So I don't really know what we're working with. But
let's look at some of the things that we did get. A lot of it's been, you know, really filler type shit. And, you know, compared to some of the, I'm not going to, you know, I'm sure we'll go to that another time. A couple other shows are doing that too. But there were some things in there. You know, I'm a big fan of cinematography, and yeah, I really enjoyed that scene, like with Lagertha. You know, a lot of those little ritual type things they throw in there. I think they're pretty. You know, as much as they can get away with it, I'm sure they're way more bloodier back then in real life. But you know, that whole thing with the sacrifice, and just her outfit alone, I mean, she looks fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. That was a baseball player too. I don't remember his name, but that's an MLB player that stood in for that. He's a huge fan of the show. The guy that got sacrificed. I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't think he was freaking Viking at first. He looked more like, you know, when they brought him out, I was like, did they bring this dude from Europe, or is it where this dude?
Well, yeah, from? He wasn't. He wasn't quite. He wasn't a Saxon, but he was, because she said, "Oh, I didn't know they talked about me that far away." So I don't know if it was Sweden or anything. But yeah, he was Scandinavian, I guess. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he was a lot cleaner. He dressed a lot, even though Vikings actually showered more than Saxons.
I think some of the issues that I do have, and it's hard to get over, is like they're using this pretty boy, you know, for Ivar. And according to what I read, I mean, Tyrion Lannister looking dude, wasn't he? And I mean, he wasn't a big guy. And the way they brought him into battle, I believe, is they would carry him in on shields, correct? That was one of the things that they speculated.
There's a few different accounts, but yes, you're correct. That's one of them. And they definitely are. They're erring towards the side, because same thing with Ragnar. I mean, one of Ragnar's names that's recorded in the sagas is Ragnar Hairy Pants. So in no ways was he known as a good-looking guy. And you know, if you ever watch any of the Comic-Con footage, when Travis Fimmel walks into a room, women go crazy. So they're shoving him down our throat, and I can't stand it either, with his perfect coiffed hair back, and you know, his White Walker blue eyes. It's annoying, but I guess it's just we have to deal with it. But no, you are right. There is I mean, like we said, we don't really know, but one of the accounts is, yes, he was, and I believe that's the majority of the accounts is what you're saying with the shields, and that he was most likely had brittle bone disease or he was just really overweight.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought he was just like a little dude. You know, it was easy for them to carry him into battle and, you know, stuff of that nature. But now I don't even want to talk about him. He's not what I expected. I expected something a little more, you know, a character more harder on the eyes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I guess to be fair, if you say, I mean, even Tyrion Lannister with Game of Thrones, I mean, Peter Dinklage is the Brad Pitt of Little People, so he's not really hard on the eyes either. So, I mean, I guess TV always does it, and it's to be expected. But I think I agree with you because I think what you're getting at is at least he should have been a big. If he's not going to be a little guy, he should have been like a big brute or something, not this model-looking kid. Like I said, that looks like he weighs 130 pounds, soaking fucking wet.
But I mean, I'll give the show credit in some ways because, like, Floki looks good. I think Floki's probably the way his character looks right now, you know, just, you know, aesthetically, I think he looks better than he has probably in all the seasons. I like the way he looks. I really do. I'm enjoying kind of what, you know, the little changes they've made to him. I do like the changes with Bjorn, which I always say it wrong, and you always
Bjorn.
Bjorn.
I'm probably like, people will listen to this cast and they'll be like, both these assholes are saying it wrong.
No shit. And then, you know, Ube. So
yeah.
We're probably butchering that one too. I like the way he looks, but yeah, I agree with you that Snake in the Eye, he reminds me too much of that dude that they shot, you know, last season with the crossbow.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, this season. When I look at, I didn't like it when I first saw that guy walking in there with that half a month. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I watched that catch up on the characters for him, and it's so annoying the way they describe themselves. He's like, well, you know, he didn't get to go on the raid on Paris. It's like, oh man, he's mad about that. He's mad about missing out on all that valuable Paris training he could have got watching Ragnar do drugs, then withdraw, then kill his lover / drug dealer / slave trip, and he missed out on all that. And he also has a bully problem from what they say. So if you're like Ragnar's son, like you're a Viking king's son that has a bully problem, and I'm not trying to make light of bully problems these days, but it's just like, come on. Okay, he's a fucking Viking. I don't want to hear any of them have a bully problem. And that's what they say in the catch up for the character. And he's like, he just wants to be like his brothers. He even wants to have their women. I'm like, well, that's weird as fuck. I'm sorry, but that's just, it's disgusting. It's weird. Yeah, he envies them so much. I mean, they're all just having sex with that girl. I don't get it. I do agree with you on that. What's her name? Astrid, I believe. Astrid or whatever. Yes, very good looking. And I do think that I think that maybe the read on this is my read. Tell me if you agree. Okay, that was the sacrifice that they're watching. Now, these are very religious people. They don't think that this is not like nowadays where we're like, yeah, you know, there's stories, you know, and we're kind of loose with our religion, you know, at least I am, you know, I don't spit on it, but I also don't take every word like it's the word of God. And these people definitely,
you don't miss an event like that.
Yeah, they don't miss it. Yeah, it's like if we miss a baptism, we're not going to be freaking out. Like if they're going to war, like he's that's a big decision is what I'm trying to say without slandering and shitting all over religion. Probably added that, but it's a big thing. Yeah, like okay, you get it. So him going with Astrid, both of them leaving it, I think is maybe the gods are going to start to favor Ivar over Bjorn right now. Because as of right now, you know, Bjorn said it with it. He was screaming at them on the docks about how he's the one that's going to lead them. And yeah, that makes sense because he's actually the only one that's a fucking Viking. I do like Ube as well. He looks like Ragnar. He looks like Bjorn. He looks like he at least weighs what I weigh. I mean, he looks like a human, like man. So he doesn't look like a hair model. Or a kid that's in a, I don't know if you've ever seen Trailer Park Boys, but that's what Sigurd Snake and I reminds me of with his bully issues. So I think that maybe that's the route they're going. That's my read on it. And I do like her, even though, you know, that's more they're shoving, there's so many Lagerthas now. Remember, I mean, there was like her shield maidens, but now everybody that's been in it, all the females are shield maidens. And I think that it's important that they distinguish it. I mean, that's what Aslog, I hated her, but at least she said, I don't do what you do, but she had her own skill set. She was more diplomatic. She was a queen. Lagertha is very militaristic. She's building up this camp. there's different ways to govern, and I think Eslog she was more of a figurehead than like a lot of people worship her and are impressed with her, but I think it's important to show that there's strong females that don't have to be fighting as well, because not every single Viking woman was a shield maiden, and not every single actress just gets to be a shield maiden that wasn't before. Just like Floki with the Muslims. Okay, the one guy that's the most religious guy, he killed frickin' Athelstan, and you can argue that was because Athelstan was Ragnar's best friend or whatever, but he's the guy that has been the most consistent with his paganism and his religion and his fanatic he has been. If anybody would have been respecting any other religion, it's not Floki. So it's like they fleshed out this character that is a fanatic. He is, if you had to say anybody in the past season who's like the most devout pagan or whatever, it would be Floki. I mean, in my opinion, and then they pick him to be the one that didn't want to kill any Muslims. It's like, why? That's not who you spent all this time fleshing out this religious fanatic, this madman making sacrifices to the gods, and he's the one that has sympathy for this religion that he's never seen before. Because why? It gets to me. It really gets to me. I think
I looked at that like at two different angles, because I would say that, like, I think maybe they were trying to show that the respect that he had for his own religion had something to do with it. There was something there that I don't know. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. I mean, hopefully they do something like, with some of these things that we're talking about, like with everybody sleeping with one chick, and that reasoning that whatever Floki had for not butchering everybody in there, which normally we thought he would do, like he did with the what was it, Catholic Church, correct?
Oh yeah, he was shooting bows and arrows, and the priests that were thrown up.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a development in that. I don't know. If not, then I agree with you. But the thing is I think we're starting to lose a little faith.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, I think we're really thinking that they're starting to get to the point where they are ready to get out of this. You know what I mean? Maybe maybe everybody involved in this project is ready to do something else. I don't know. But obviously Travis Fimmel, he's going to be doing something. I think I did read something that he was ready to move on from the show. But, one of my favorite characters still from the beginning is Lagertha. So Floki, I've been, they did a good job there, because there's times I tired of Floki, and there's other times, like here recently, I think they brought that character back into a better light. You know what I mean?
I do too, and I think that, like, I agree with what you say, that I just don't think that they're trying to end it. I think that they're trying to do more of what I said, like they just want to start this new story, and Floki has to go over to Iceland, and he's going to be there. That's already been said. Floki is going to be one of the people they have that's going to go and discover Iceland. So they need a change, and we've seen it, and it's kind of been really forced. They need to really, have some of these characters almost do a 360, and I guess Floki's a real good example, because this is the guy that when Rollo got baptized, just as an agreement in the first or second season, he was pissed. Yeah. Rollo went and killed 20 or 30 guys out in the field. He's like, did I kill enough Christians yet? Floki he still is not forgiving him, and he's the one that's sympathizing with it. But the only thing that makes sense is actually what you just said, is that his overwhelming faith for his own religion did, at this point, for some reason, he found something that related, and he's older now, even though, we can tell with the men, because remember, they age the men in this show and they don't age the women, which, in my opinion, if you're not going to do everybody, don't do one, because it really makes it obvious when Floki's wife looks like she's 24, she is, and Floki is aged up 25 years. So I just find that a little bit odd and lazy, but I guess I'll rant if you let me go. But I do agree that I think that you're seeing the bright side, and you're more with this show right now, and it's because I love it. I love history too, and so do you, but you are more able to see the glass half full, and I'm looking at it half empty, because you're coming up with good explanations for why this is happening, at least. You know what I mean? So maybe I should take a note. Maybe I should take a note from you. I'm going to listen for a little bit and stop my difference.
Another thing is to go back, I know it's going to be painful, but go back and watch these last 8 episodes. And obviously, we're only going to get 2 more, correct? We got a season finale coming up in about 2 weeks, I would guess.
Yes.
When you go back and you watch, there's so many things they've done that they've dropped the ball on. That's apparent. As a Vikings fan, I love this show. I've watched very beginning. I've caught on from season 1, episode 1. And then, that last season, with the boats, in that ending, there's some parts I'm like, I was kind of wondering who they're going to kill off. Basically, so many of them were injured. We didn't know what they were going to do, even Lagertha. So basically, all of a sudden, everybody's back after a commercial break, and everybody's aid. It was sloppy, man. It was so sloppy. There was way better ways to do that.
Pacing's off, yeah.
They should have used that episode. Well, no, they didn't have enough time. They came back from commercial break and everything's fucked.
No, really, but I see where you're going with that, though. And I agree that, instead of just having Ragnar be who the fuck knows where, which would not fly, he would be usurped for how many years? And I guess Michael Hirst mentioned something like in the sagas, it does say something about that. I don't know. I've listened to the audiobooks of a lot of the sagas, but they are long and there's a lot of them, and it says a lot of things that don't really translate that well, so it probably isn't there, and I'll probably get
told. But it doesn't matter because it was done like shit. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. It was done bad.
But I agree with you though, because they did have more of an opportunity. They should have just ended it more at the break with these characters they don't want to use anymore. Because I really do subscribe to the belief that he is just like, holy shit, I've gotten far enough that I can tell Ivar the Boneless story because he's more famous than any of them. So now I'm just going to do that. He's essentially just using a different. He probably would like to change the name of the damn show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but let's go back and look at. It's Vikings. It was never called the Ragnar Lothbrok show.
Well, no, I agree with you. I'm just trying to say the point of how he's probably looking at this when he's writing the script.
I see that. But, the biggest problem is here's these boys now that we're still trying to feel out that the character development was bad. It really was. Some of their storylines as a kid was pretty interesting. Ivar as a kid, it was interesting. But, that gap is just horribly done, okay? Then you had the one that, is it Ube? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the one that basically showed his skills and he hunted out Floki? Remember when he was hiding in the water?
Oh yeah. Yep, because that would be the oldest one, so it should be Ube, yes, or Uba, yeah, whatever.
You get what I'm saying? That was well done too, and it was looking. I knew the Great Heathen Art has to come. I knew they were going to add it. I knew it was. I knew. Another thing is too, the way they killed off Ragnar. It should have been some of the other shit we've gotten in the past. It was so more dramatic and so much more pleasing on screen, and I just. That episode there, I hate that episode. I hate that episode when Ragnar died. And it's not because Ragnar died. I knew that was going to happen, but the way they did it was just. But I will give credit to a couple of these actors and characters that their development's a little off. But what's his name? Shit, man. The king that actually did give him to Ayala.
King Egbert.
I do he does the best he can with that character because that character is kind of, if you really watch some of these scenes, it's kind of insignificant in a way. You know what I mean? But the thing is, because it's obvious where we're headed with that. It doesn't take, you don't have to know history. He's next on their hit list.
Well, yeah. I was a little bit disappointed because I do disagree a little bit. Okay. Egbert was like the mastermind. He was Ragnar's. Even Athelstan says it when he says, "Oh, we're in Wessex." King Egbert. He goes, "Who's that?" He goes, "He's like you." He used to be cunning. He's the one that was just like Ragnar. And both Ragnar and Egbert took each other's word at face value when they absolutely shouldn't have. Okay, Ragnar trusts the guy that he is back. I don't really know what the fuck his plan was, but he was back, I guess, originally to try to kill his ass. But now it's just, resulted to this plan that ends up working out, blah, 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 to be turned over to Aella. He just trusts the guy that mowed down his people. That's the reason he's there, is what I'm trying to say. Right when he left last time, not to kill his son. And also, on the flip side of that, the other guy that mowed down his people as soon as he left and was not to be trusted, they had that awesome scene where he goes, "Are you corrupt, or are you whatever?" And he goes, yeah, and he goes, "Yeah." It's like these two masterminds, these two guys that you can't predict what they're going to do. Just take both each other. Egbert takes Ragnar's word that he is going to send his son back to Kattegat, and he is going to say that it's Aella and blah, 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 and he will not have to have any of those consequences, and vice versa. Egbert does that. He takes his word at face value, and Ragnar takes his, and these guys should not be trusting each other. And they bring this up. Ethelwolf actually brought it up, I believe, this episode. You know, like what? I forget what he says, but he does bring it up that he goes, why would you trust him? You know, I don't really like how they're referring to the sons of Ragnar are going to come, because that's not something that would have been said back then. They're just not going to. They're not going to be saying the sons of Ragnar. They didn't even fucking know. But he does bring it up. He does call his dad out finally, and he's like, "Why would you take? Why the hell would you make this deal? You both are fucking stupid." So I mean,
there was no development to that. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I think he kind of misunderstood me. Like, it's like the path of that king was pretty obvious. Okay,
we know he's gonna die. Yeah, we know he's gonna die.
The story and just the way that they did, whether it was just whoever wrote for that show, or the character development. That character is done very, very well, and that guy sells it. There's certain characters, when you give them to certain roles, they kill it, even whether or not they're significant later on. But I mean, that guy is just. I want to see more than what he's going to do, beyond Vikings, because obviously I don't see him lasting too much longer. Now, we do have it confirmed that we are at least getting one more season.
Yeah, they're filming 5 right now, 5A. So
do another 10 and 10.
Yeah. And we do have Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, which I like I said it before, I'm not ashamed. I love history, and I like to pride myself as history buff like you do. And I still like the Tudors, just because maybe I just took it more. I knew I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the first 2 seasons. I didn't watch until the last season. Then me and my ex caught up with it. But, we watched it. We both knew that it wasn't, going to be going straight off the pages of history. And the Borgias was a goddamn mess, but I really I like the European Borgias that was done in the Netflix series as well. And nobody does it very well, but it's very entertaining. So maybe I don't know why, because I think they captured the culture of Vikings so well in the first 2 seasons that I really expect more out of this show for some reason, but maybe I shouldn't. But Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is an excellent actor, and he's supposed to be like a predecessor to the Knights Templars. He was a bishop. He's listed as dying at this battle, the same battle that Alfred the Great's Athelwulf's in the show. He only has 1 legitimate son, but in real life he had like 5 that died. But his Alfred the Great, and they are aging them up for next season. They got the actors listed on this website I'm looking at, but he fell at this battle, the same battle that made Alfred the Great king, actually. So, because his brother, the older kid, does die, and he dies at this battle as well. So I think that they'll probably keep him in the show for longer, because if they actually go by the history, he should die like probably first, second episode of next season. But we're going to see him as early as next episode, and he's a good actor. I really think, I don't know, some people don't think so, but I really do like Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. I think he'll do a good job. What's that?
Isn't the wrestler Edge, isn't he supposed to, is it next season or the beginning or somewhere?
Next season. He's going to play Eric the Red. So, So yeah, they got some talent coming, So like I said, I really feel like they're trying to just do another show. So I guess let's say if we had the rate, I want to hear your rating from 1 to 10, 10 being the best overall for the seasons, and I want to hear it just for this season. I'll give Vikings overall every season up until now, including this season, though, I will give it a 7, and I will give this season a 5.
Yeah, if I have to add this season, I'd probably give it a 7 as well. God, you're making me rate it. All right, let me say this then. As a whole, I have to give it a 7. They've dropped the ball this last season. There's good stuff and bad stuff. Like I said, I would probably give it a 5.5 just to be polite, or maybe a 6. No, a 5. A 5.
Can't argue with it. Yeah, it brings it down. Because I'd say overall the series is an 8 or a 9 even, maybe probably 8.5 all the way. This season brings it down.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like, you got this great batting average, and then you freaking lifetime batting average, then you go the next season, you bat like 100. It really takes your freaking ratings down.
That's what happens when the batter ages 12 years in between innings.
God, yeah, dude. It's like
we'll be talking about the next episodes, and I'll try to be more positive. I really do like the show. I'll probably get a lot of shit for all the stuff I said, but whatever. Get angry because I love it so much. So that's
exactly. I agree. I get you, but I mean, some of it looks great. Some of it, it's kind of, I hate using that reference. When you get like Game of Thrones, where the Dorne shit goes to hell, but the rest of it's good. This episode, a lot of it looked a lot better. I mean, that Blood Eagles where they take everything looked like a blood eagle, but they take your lungs and bring them over your shoulders, correct?
Yes. Well, what they do is, I might be getting it wrong, but they crack open your ribs, and then they're cutting into your back, so they pull your ribs out, in reverse, I guess you'd say, and then they got Aella had a lot more skin than Jarl Borg had, so they had a lot more to work with, and it looked like a lot of paper mache, really. But I thought it did. I'm not gonna talk shit about that. It did look good. But yeah, they pull like the ribs out in reverse and or whatever you want to call it. They crack them outwards and they look like wings. So you would. Oh, there's no way you would stay awake for that. I guess that's what you're supposed to do. He didn't give a shit because he's not pagan and he's shitting his pants the whole time. But like Jarl Borg, he didn't pass out until the very end because it's like if you pass out, supposedly you didn't go to like Valhalla is like the rule, or if you screamed out. So, but dude, you would be out by the time they made that first incision.
Oh, dude,
you'd be out. I don't care how tough you are. It's just human. I mean, you just your body can't take that shit. So,
but if you go back and you watch this episode, it's definitely better than the last 6 or 7. I think. I personally think so. Some people go, oh no, Ragnar's dead. That was done like shit.
See, no, I didn't think it was done like shit. I think that we already talked about. We both agree that the circumstances were shit, in the way that they led up to it. But I thought, okay, like my idea was, okay, it's done. What's done is done. How was it done? And once you get to this fucking death, these very unbelievable, uncharacteristic actions from 2 very clever men that landed both of them in a stupid position. If we just take it from him being transferred there to his actual death, take it from that point of the episode, very well done. And it's almost like how I'm judging this episode, because it's like we got some really cool stuff, but they still have to deal with all the other bullshit they've been doing because they fucked themselves with these stupid storylines. So it's like, we got to see, like, it's like, well, yeah, you want to know what? It's like, because I don't have a problem, like I said, without seeing violence or the battle, but it's like when I see so much nonsensical storylines and the narrative that I know is not going anywhere in place of it, I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't need the battle, but I sure as fuck would have took it.
Oh, absolutely. I don't disagree with you, but a lot of shows have done that. You wait for this big moment, and it's just like, But I do believe, or I want to believe, if we're getting. So you're saying we're going to get the big battle?
Well, yeah, I think that because, I mean, in reality, we're not going to, I mean, the big battles will be with when we get Alfred the Great, the older Alfred, with which we will still see a time jump. So I think that we'll get a lot of stuff next season, but I think we're going to really see, we'll probably see Athelwulf die. We'll see, I think we're going to see Egbert and Athelwulf die this season. Yeah, this within the next, not the next episode, I think is going to be heavily consumed with the battle in Kattegat. Sorry, I think it'll be mostly that, and we'll see some setup for the big battle. But yeah, we're gonna see Wessex. We're gonna see, because they're better prepared. At least they have a bigger army. He's been merging England together, so I think we will get and we're gonna get some Jonathan Rhys-Meyer. We're gonna get some stuff like that. So I think we're gonna see if you look at the previews, it looks we're seeing some actual shield walls and some horses crashing into people. So we're gonna get it, and I think that we'll get I think that we will hopefully get a lot more. I mean, because like I said, I'm fine without the violence. I'm not that guy that needs to see somebody's head cut off every episode. But in the first few seasons of Vikings, there was rarely an episode that went by that you didn't see at least a minor skirmish. So I think hopefully they do get back to that, because I do think they do the fighting really well. There's one thing they do very well is the fighting. So you feel like, I mean, back in the earlier seasons, the shield wall, I mean, that really was intense, when you're seeing them fight each other, when they're fighting with Jarl Borg and stuff. I mean, you felt the intensity. So I really like the battle scenes as well. Like I said, don't need them. I'm not that guy that just needs to see somebody's head chopped off. But I don't need to see Sigurd having sex with
Mark. I mean, that's not fair to say, because you got to think of what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Friends. You know what I mean? We're talking about Vikings, where that is what we expect from Vikings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We expect brutality and chaos, and that is how it's depicted. That's how it's what is written about it. I mean, that's what we expect. We expect a very savage type storyline, and I think maybe now that I think about it, this season has been a little too civilized in some ways. You know what I mean? It has been just the way, and I'm not saying that as far as scenes, but just how the whole thing's been kind of written. It's more everything looks a little prettier. I mean, just
Yep. But I think it's a lot of like what you're saying. It's a lot of 21st century ideals and in ways of thinking applied to 8th century civilization. It's a lot of that, and that happens in all these shows. Because they can't. Then everybody complains that they're racist or they're being whatever sexist or blah blah blah. So it's always going to have that PC bullshit applied to it with any of these series. So it is what it is. I'm hopeful. You want to know what? I bet these next 2 episodes will be. They'll give this last one. All right, I'd like to thank Tarzan for coming on with me. I want to tell you guys to go over to Trial by Trivia, where he's got his channel. He's currently doing a second round of the Game of Thrones tournament, where he's got the big YouTubers over there that are competing with each other. This one's a team challenge right now. You can go over there to get details on that. I know he's got a few matches already done, but they will probably be available to view in the coming weeks, I believe. You can also catch me and my curator from Amino Apps, Westworld, doing the Westworld tournament over there in about a month, where we're going to have some YouTubers and podcasters competing against each other as well. Obviously, the audio is not great on this. That's because I was with professional service. It lost 3 casts in 2 weeks. Made it a living hell, so I am obviously in the middle of changing formats and services. So I'd like to thank everybody for being so positive and